Hello, Sharif here. And this is Criticality, where examine some current issues from a different perspective. And today we're going to be talking about our recent presidential election. And I'm doing this specifically because I've been receiving a bunch of emails from various people. Oh, I don't believe it. And I can't believe that Trump won the election. And isn't this terrible? Isn't this the most awful thing you ever heard, etc. And one person, a couple people have been smart enough to say, well, Sharif, I'm pretty sure you got another way of looking at this. So what is it? So this is it. um, if you think that this is the real re-election of Donald Trump is the end of the world. You either haven't been listening to me for the past, let's say, 30 years or so, or you believe the things that you see, but you don't believe that it can happen to you. And I want to explore both of these because I see when Trump won the first time, I was one of the few people out in my sphere saying, this guy can win. And not because you want him to, not because he is the best model of humanity or even the best American, but because of the forces that's shaping our world right now. When I in this election, and people were saying, "Oh, why is he bother running? He's going to prison, etc." And I was saying, you need to pay attention. The one thing that you need to pay attention to is the question of vision, something I talk an awful lot about. If you respond negatively to something, the way that people responded negatively to Donald Trump in the political arena, that amounts to just about nothing. So all of the bad things, and I mean, and the folks on the left had some amazingly bad things to say about him and his family and his children. I mean, it's embarrassing the way that people demonized him. If you don't have something positive to counteract what you were talking about, then he wins again. I think that I've never met Kamala Harris. Just what I've seen in news clips, etc. She seems like a really nice person, and she seems like she's really, really smart. And if this were a contest where I was looking to find somebody to date, I'd keep her on my list of somebody to date. That this is not a dating contest. This is a question of the vision of not only America, but the vision of the world. How are we moving forward on implementing a vision of the world? And so, over the past few months, as people were asking me about my opinion of Vice President Harris, I would say, tell me her vision and do it in one sentence. And the fact that nobody could do that, the fact that she couldn't do that, means she lost. Now, I think that this is a really important point. Donald Trump has a vision. That vision is for a partial America. When he says, make America great again, he's talking about the America of the 1940s and 50s, the Norman Rockwell view of America, the view of America where the dark-skinned folks were in the kitchen smiling, happy to bring your food out to you. The white men were in charge and the white women were supporting them by telling the black cooks in the kitchen what to cook. And we've left that vision a long time ago, decades and decades ago. And there are people who want it back, and they believe that a Donald Trump can roll back the time, can turn back the clock, and we can go back to the good old days for some. Well, we can't, but that doesn't stop you from that. It's a vision. It's a flawed vision. It's based on a time machine that doesn't exist yet, and at this point never will. But that vision, as flawed as it is, was balanced against absolutely nothing. And guess what won? I have a vision. Those of you who know me know what my vision is. I believe that we can create a world that works for all living beings. That's been the vision that I wake up with every morning. That's the vision I put to bed every night. That's where all my energy goes. And if there's something that is less than a vision of a world that works for all, I don't deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. It's not part of my agenda. When I start looking at the agendas of the people who are sending me the emails of, oh, this is terrible, I ask the question, what's your vision? Okay. And I've gotten a response of late. And that response is, oh, well, I have a vision where everyone can be free. I have a vision where there are no homeless people. I have a vision of there's no poverty. There's no trash. There's no this. There's no that. There's no this. None of that is a vision. I don't know how to say this differently. When I say it stronger, people say, oh, you're scolding. Well, maybe I am. But if you don't hear something for 30 years, and how can I say it differently? Do I need to get sock puppets? Do I need to, how do I say, we have to create a world that works for all living beings any differently or any stronger than I've been saying it? Well, there's one way. For those of you who read my book, The Chronicles of the Upheavals, you know that it's set in the future, 100 years in the future. And 100 years in the future, humanity makes it. We make it through all the garbage that's facing us right now. We make it through climate change. We make it through violence. We make it through poverty, etc. And in the preamble to the book, and the introduction, written in 2125, the people who are running the world at that time, and you got to read the book to find out who I'm talking about. Let's just say us. We say, in this writing, we take on a task that many believe to be impossible, to accurately chronicle the times before, during, and after the great upheavals that engulfed humanity in the 21st century. As many as 4 billion humans died, almost 60% of the human population of the planet at that time. With so many people dying, it seemed like the end of the world to many. And in some ways it was. Now it goes on to explain how this called the Great Die-Off happened. But the bottom line is, I think that that's accurate. I think between 40 and 60 billion, 40 to 60% of humanity dies. Somewhere around 4 to 6 billion with a B human beings are going to perish in the next 20 to 40 years. If that's new, then you haven't been reading my stuff. If that's new, you haven't, or I'm saying it, but you're not paying attention. Let's talk about paying attention for a second. I was in I was walking in my neighborhood to the post office, and a police situation developed. Police stopped a car that was carrying people that they believed was just committed an armed robbery, and they had the car surrounded. They had all their guns trained on this car, and there were people gathering like a block away, and people were gathering in the direct line of fire of the police officers who had their guns drawn. And they said on a bullhorn, all of you people who are standing in front of the bank, move out of the way. You are in the direct line of fire and we will shoot. Now, there's like 40 or 50 people standing there, and they all looked at each other. They looked around, they looked at each other, and each one of them kind of shuffled to the left or the right, maybe a foot or two, still in the line of fire. And the guy on the bullhorn says, you are still in the line of fire. You need to move to one street or the other street. You need to get out of our way. And one more time, they kind of looked at each other. Is he talking to me? And they kind of, shuffled a little bit further this way, a little bit further that way. It wasn't that they couldn't understand the language. It wasn't that they understood it, but the police officers were holding water guns, so they weren't afraid of getting wet. The bottom line is that they felt it could not happen to me. It can happen to other people. I see that happen all the time on television. But the fact that this guy is aiming a gun in my direction does not register because it can't happen to me. These bad things happen to other people, but they don't happen to me. And then when it happens to you, I didn't say if, when it happens to you, you say, oh, how did this happen? This was terrible, etc. So for the years between one Trump presidency and the other, I was listening to how people were talking. People, even after Biden won, their entire political conversation still revolved around Donald Trump. I kept saying, stop talking about him. You got other things to deal with here. You got other forces to deal with. But you look at the totality of the conversation. Isn't he a jerk? Oh, he's going to go to prison for 1,000,000 years. His wife is going to leave him. I mean, this a constant talk about Trump. Those of us who understand the reality of the law of attraction, that which you focus on gets stronger. Now, if you think I'm the first person that said that to you, I don't know what country you've been in or what rock you've been living under, but that is a common factor of the law of attraction. If you focus on it, you get more of it. You focus on your debts, you get more debts. You focus on your abundance, you get more abundance. You focus on Donald Trump, you get more Trump. How is that difficult thinking? I mean, why are people surprised? Look at how much time you spent talking about him. You reelected him. Congratulations. If you wanted something else, you should have been talking about something else. Now, in all of my work, I've been talking about an alternative to the existing status quo. I'm not saying the Republican status quo. I'm not saying the Democratic status quo. If you've read any of my stuff, you know Those are the Republicans and the Democrats are the two wings on a really sick bird. They work together to get us in the position that we're in right now. If we want to be in a different position, we have to do different things. What are the different things that you should do? I have to back up and make sure I'm using my indoor voice. I wrote them all down. It's called Birthing the Nation of Gaia. How do we get away from this world that is tumbling downhill as fast as picking up speed as it's going down? How do we get away from that and get on the upslope of a whole new way of looking at how human beings can live on this planet in harmonic concert with all other living beings? You want to know the way to do that? Read the book. Okay. Now, if you don't care about that, keep doing whatever you're doing. You will then get to the alternative, which is half of humanity dies, the other half will be living in some interregnum period, some in-between period, until we figure out how to create a world that works for all living beings. You'll stay in that place until somebody figures out that they need to read that book. Now, I'm really serious about it. If you don't like my vision, if you don't like the notion of an idea that works for all, of a world that works for all living beings, then come up with your own. Send it to me, because if it's better than creating a world that works for all, I'm with you. I'll pack all this stuff up and I'll join your camp. But if your vision is focused on how do I get more of the system that is dying, then it's okay. I won't be joining yours. I've talked a lot about metamorphosis, and I'm saying that we're entering a metamorphic time, that what we're entering right now is a time where things are changing, and the change is going to be so profound that, and this is what I'm saying in the book. I'm sorry, I picked up the wrong book. That's what I'm saying in this book, that our change is going to be so profound, we won't even be able to understand it from the point of view that we have right now. So we're talking about us creating a vision of a world that doesn't have any violence in it. None. People don't need to be violent. People will be disagreeing with each other all the time. But why in the world would you be violent about that? Creating a world that works completely without poverty, completely without greed, and completely without hoarding, one being having more stuff than they could ever use. How do you do that? If that's your goals, then you sit in those goals. You sit in the goals in your heart, and your heart's going to tell you what to do. If you are saying, I'm going to sit over here until you prove to me that your idea is going to work, well, you'll be sitting there, we'll be in a completely different state, and you'll still be waiting for proof. The question is, what do you do? If you think that your agreement to come into this planet at this time is to sit around and wait for somebody to do something so you can criticize it, keep sitting. It's okay. That's okay. The next thing that happens is your doing. And since you didn't do anything, it will be your non-doing. For those of us who are banding together For those of us who believe that we can create a higher level consciousness, and that consciousness can help us to steer through the next 20 to 40 years, we need to come together. I've created some opportunities for us to come together, and we should continue the work that we've been doing. That work should be taking place faster and faster. Our challenge is to do that. My challenge is to do that. And on our quest for a new society, a new civilization, a new basis for humanity living on this planet, I wish us all well. Thank you. More to come.